So our registration and login page has been integrated with our backend. Until now, we have created two entities, user and cities, and these were very simple one. There was no relationship between these two entities. But now we are going to create an entity for this property form, and this entity will contain other entities as well. For example, all of these property types, furnishing types are going to be different entities in our application. Also, we will have a photo entity, and from this tab, we should be able to upload multiple images for a property. So in this video, we will going to create an entity to store property information, and around this entity, we need to add other relational entities as well, and we will define the relationship between those entities. All of these entities will have one to many relationship between them. For example, there can be one unique user, but that user can have multiple properties. Similarly, one property can have multiple photos, and one city can be used in multiple properties. All of these relationships between database table are set using primary and foreign key. If I need to define all of such relationships between each entity in the database, it would be a huge work. But Entity Framework made it so simple that if we follow the proper naming convention to define each property, these relationships automatically be created by the Entity Framework for us. We can also enable cascade delete between different entities using Entity Framework. That means if we delete a property, all of the related photos will automatically be deleted. And if we delete a user, all the properties belonging to that user will automatically be deleted, and also the associated photos related to that property will be deleted from the database. So we are going to create all of these entities in our application and also see different ways to define relationships between these entities next. If you remember, we already had defined the model property in our Angular application that we are using to store the property related information in local browser storage. We need to add a similar kind of entity in our web API now. Let's go to a web API and add a new class in models. Let's name it property and add all the required fields. Add ID. Entity Framework is smart enough that it automatically set this field to the primary key on the database if we define a property with name ID. So naming convention is important here, but sometimes it is not feasible to follow the naming convention. We have a workaround for that as well. We can use a schema, data annotation, or Fluent API to define the primary and foreign key on a field that does not fit in the naming convention of Entity Framework. I will show you how to do that using the data annotation in this video. Let's add other fields. Most of these fields will be the replica of our existing model that we had defined in the Angular application. But we will have to make changes in the various fields that are good for normalizing our database. For example, this p type is defined as string here in Angular model, but we will take it as integer as we are not going to store the full name of the property type in our database. Instead, we will store the ID of property type here in the property table, and property type name will come from another table on the base of foreign key relationships. Let's also change the name of this property from p type to property type ID, because we need to follow some naming convention to set the relationships between different entities automatically by the Entity Framework. I will explain shortly why it is important to name it like this. City also to be defined as int and name it city ID. Define ready to move as boolean. Let's define this gated as well boolean. and we had possession on field in Angular model. Let's name it est possession on, because we are going to use this field for establishment date in case of property is ready to move, and in case property is not ready to move, we will store the future date in this field for the possession date here. So the field name should describe what you are going to store in that particular field. Add a field for age. We are going to store a calculated age in this field on the base of this establishment date. Add description. Add posted on field. And we can set the default value to store current date time using datetime.now in this field. And finally, we need to store the posted by field, and it should be the ID of the user who has posted this property. You can see I have not defined this field as user ID and not following the naming convention here. I will show you how to set the relationship between user and property table for this field using data annotation attribute, as it does not follow the entity framework naming convention. So our property entity is ready. Next, we will see how to define the relationship between two different entities using EF framework. So we already have city entity, and to define the foreign key relationships between the property and city entity, we need to add navigation property here like this. It should be the type of class to which we want to set the relationship. And if we have a navigation property, entity framework will look up the field name excluding the ID in that name, and if it matches with the navigation property type name, entity framework will create a foreign key relationship on that field. That is why naming convention are important here if you do not want to get into the hassle of setting relationships between different entities manually. So here our naming convention is defined as entity framework was expected, but as mentioned earlier, it was not always feasible to define our entity property with the same naming convention. For example, this posted by field should be the foreign key to the user entity. If we add user as navigation property here, entity framework will not create a foreign key on this field in the database. So how to define a relationship in this case? Well, entity framework provides us foreign key annotation that is available in the data annotations .schema namespace. And here as parameter, we can tell the name of the associated navigation property to look up to define the relationships. So using these two different ways, we can define the foreign key relationships to the other entities. Next, we should be able to access the collection of photos belonging to the associated properties for this entity. We can add a photo property as iCollection. Import the namespace system.collections. We can tell what type of collections it can contain, and it should be a collection of type photo. We do not have a photo entity yet. We will add it shortly. It is still showing a red line under this. We already have imported namespace. Oh, sorry. We were to import system.collection.generic to get the generic version of iCollection. Let's name it photos, as it is a collection of multiple photos, not a single photo. We are getting error here because we have not defined the photo entity yet. Press Ctrl dot and select this generate class photo in the new file. Let's add the required properties in this class. Add ID, that will be the primary key of this table. Add image URL to store the URL of the associated image. Add a property of type boolean to define if this photo is primary or not. We will show primary photo on the list page. Save it. So now the error has gone. Next, we need to add navigation property for property type and furnishing type. So just like city, we can add the navigation property for these two fields as well. So it should be a type of property type and name it property type. Generate the class for this and add the required properties, ID and name in this class. add navigation for furnishing type as well. And generate a class for the same and add the required fields ID and name properties here. So all the required entities have been added and proper relationships have been set between these entities. Now in order to create the migration and update the database, we need to add these entities in DBset here in data context class. Cities and users class are already here. Similar to this, we need to add property as well in DBset. Let's name it properties. Just copy this and add two more entities. One is property type and name it property types. And another one is furnishing type. Done. You would be thinking I am going to add a photo entity as well here. But surprisingly, I am not going to add a photo entity here in the DBset. I recommend to pause this video and do some brainstorming why I am not going to add photo entity here. Tell me in the comment section after finishing this video that what thought came in your mind about it. Well, the reason for not adding a photo entity here is that we do not need to access photos independently in our application. We will always access the photos using the photo navigation property that we have defined in the property entity and that we already have defined here as DBset. That is why we do not need to add photos here in the DBset. But as we have taken photos as navigation property in the property class, entity framework will create the table for that entity in the database even if we do not add it here in the DBset. We are ready for migration, but let's review the entities to ensure we have not missed anything. Let's make this name field mandatory because it does not make any sense to create a furnishing type without a name, and import it from component model.data annotation. Also make name a mandatory field in other entities as well. This image URL should be a mandatory field. And if we look at the city entity, we have taken these last updated on and last updated by fields as well. And these fields should be taken in all entities. And if you look at the other classes, ID is also a common property in all the classes. So it does not make sense to repeat these properties in all the classes. To avoid this repetition, let's define a base entity and add these three properties in this base entity. Now we can derive all the classes from base entity. And we can remove these fields from here. Let's derive all other entities from the base entity. So now all of our entities have these common fields. Now the last thing, we need to add property ID here in the photos class, and also need to add navigation property for property entity here. Although it is not needed, entity framework will automatically define foreign key relationship between property and photo entity, even if we do not add this navigation property here. But if we will not define property ID and this navigation property here, entity framework will create property ID field as a nullable field. Also, it will not enable cascade delete for this field, meaning if we delete a property, associated photo will not be deleted automatically. and it will make our photo records orphan in that case. And it does not make any sense to have a photo without a property ID in our application. So we are now ready to add migration. Let's run the migration command. Let's give it a name, adding property related entities. Great, migration successfully created. Let's review the migration to check if everything is correctly being created in our database or not. So the new column last updated by and last updated are being added in user table, but the order is not as we have defined in our base class. Last updated on should be created first, but migration is adding last updated by field first. It is creating furnishing types, and again I am little bit concerned about the order of columns. I would like to put these last updated fields as the last column of the table. You can see the entity framework automatically uses the ID column as primary key in all the tables. In property types as well, last updated fields are added. So city ID is correctly mapped to the ID column of cities table using foreign key reference. Similarly, furnishing type is also created as foreign key. And the last table is photo. I can see the problem here. Our migration has created this table as photo, while it should be a plural, just like the other tables are created in the process. The reason is we do not have any entry for this table in the DB context, where we have defined the plural name for other entities, and this name is taken by entity framework from the entity class itself. So to change the name of this field, we can add the table attribute above the class. Import the data annotation dot schema namespace. Remove the last migration and add the migration again. So it should be corrected now. Let's also change the sequence of these last updated columns. Also, I think you would be wondering why I took posted on and posted by fields if last updated on and last updated by fields are taken on this entity. The reason is in our application, property can be posted by property owner only, but it can be updated by other roles as well in our application. For example, we can give privileges to the customer care executive to modify the information of listed property on customer behalf. So I would like to keep these two fields separate in this table. Also, I would like to activate cascade delete on posted by field, so that if owner is deleted, all the belonging properties should also be deleted automatically. But I do not want to keep this referential integrity for the last updated by fields. As you can see, now the table name is changed from the photo to photos. And cascade delete is on for this column, and indexes are built on all the primary and foreign key for all the tables. And finally, this down method is dropping the tables and columns from the database, so that in case we need to roll back this migration in future, we should be able to roll back the database in to the previous state before this migration was applied. So we are good to run the database update commands now. Perfect, our migration is applied successfully. Let's look at the database if all the tables are created and relationship is set as per the migration. MS SQL provides us option to create a ER diagram from the tables. Let me delete the older one that I had created previously and show you how to create the same from scratch. So right click on this database diagram and select this new database diagram. Press the refresh button if all the newly created tables are not visible here, and select all the tables except this migration history table. Press add button, and you can see in the background it is creating the ER diagram for us. Close it. Let me change it to the full screen so that we can visualize all the tables. So you can see, so it is displaying all the tables and relationship between those tables. You can right click on these lines to see the detail of referential integrity properties. You can see the delete rule is set as cascade here for this relationship. So this is a very useful tool, and you can see all the relations between different tables using this ER diagram. And you can also save this diagram, and SQL will keep this diagram updated as per your current table structure. And in future as well, whenever you migrate your database, you can see how the relationship between the different tables are created. So we have successfully applied our migration to add all the tables related to the property. Next, we will seed the database in all of these tables, and then we will start to add the API endpoints to implement the CRUD operation for property. So see you in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.